All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. This is DFS Army's pre-lock show where we will walk through these games, kind of talk to you about what we're doing on this slate. There's a decent amount of injury news that we've already gotten. Oh, let's see. There's another video I was had up of probably the last show we did. Speaking of, Wednesday was finally a positive night. So we ended the cold streak. Hopefully we can get a heater going on. So nice to have things change there. And Brandon, you had a really good night slate, right?
Yeah, I had to work late Wednesday, so I only got to play night slate, and I was 0.25 points from taking down the night mini max. So pretty pissed about that. I needed Champagne to hit that last three that he missed, and I would have been good. But still a solid slate nonetheless. So ready to keep the momentum going tonight.
Agreed. It is TJ time, man. We're not even questioning it. It's TJ
Yeah.
time. Jules, yeah, rare Friday episode. You know, Tactics went live at 12 today, so plenty of time to think and play football or basketball. The nice thing too about this slate is every game, at least on DK, starts at 7:30. So we have plenty of time. We're not
Yep.
rushing, and we have all of the news. We'll have all the news by the time lock hits, so we don't have to worry about late swapping or anything. We can just enjoy our night and watch some basketball. You're right, DJ. Let's get on track. Time to cook. Good to see you, Mo. Let's get to business. Six gamer here. Cup is going on tonight. We have the Cavs going up against the Atlanta Hawks. 236.5 total, 6.5 point spread. For the Cavs tonight, Sam Merle is out. Dean Wade is questionable. I don't care really about any of that. This is one of the games we can kind of just take at face value. Brandon, what's your game plan here for the Cavs tonight?
I targeted a few guys here. I think this game can be pretty sneaky tonight, especially on this side of the ball that isn't carrying a lot of ownership. It's a nice game total, too. So wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the higher scoring, more competitive games tonight. But, anyways, uh, first thing I did, I put a 10% min on Jared Allen. I just love his price. I love him even more that Porzingis is rolled out. So Atlanta's front court should struggle a bit more than they normally do. So I think he can be sneaky. I was going back and forth on Mitchell, but since we have so much value, I just put a 10% min on him. I am a little concerned, especially if they throw Dyson on him defensively. We know how good of a defender he is, but Mitchell's upside is just too good. And kind of what I just mentioned, this game's very competitive and it's fast paced. And Mitchell's shot is falling. We know he has slate breaking upside. And then Mobley, I just threw an 8% min on to match the field. Um, he's kind of up and down, but we know what kind of upside he has. And for the same reasons I mentioned with Allen, I want to attack this Atlanta front court. So definitely wanted some exposure there. And then didn't really get to anybody else. Everyone just kind of priced appropriately and don't see much value anywhere. Still waiting to attack Garland, but I'm waiting for a little more consistency from him.
Yeah. For those of you who are watching and looking at the screen, no, you are not crazy. I'm sharing my screen, so you have to listen to what Brandon B-Dubs is doing, and then you can see what I'm doing when you look at the screen. Showtime, no, this is not an every Friday thing yet. We'll be back on Fridays whenever the NFL regular season ends. Or actually, I don't remember if we do a tactics show for the playoffs or not. I don't know. But whenever NFL ends, then we'll be back to doing this on Friday. It's been too long. Yep, no late swapping. Yeah, there's a lot of wild ownership, not in this game. So that's part of why I like forcing exposure to this game, is because there's lower ownership here. There's also like a points differential thing for the cup where the Cavs do need more points here, potentially depending on how things play out. I don't take that super seriously, but it did help me. We just want a little bit more exposure to the Cavs. I have a 10% min on Donovan Mitchell. Just we know the upside he has. I don't love this spot for him, but I think it's worth having some exposure here. 5% min on Mobley. I'll be under the field. Again, just want to have some lineups with him. If he does pop off, the Hawks are one of the worst teams in the league when it comes to rebounding. Him and Allen get a boost just because of that. And Allen at 5,700 just feels really nice from a price standpoint on this slate. We do have really strong center plays on this slate because of injuries and things of that sort, but I want to make sure Allen stays in my mix, and he's someone I'm willing to prioritize. And then that is it for the Cavs. It's a revenge game for Dean Wade, but I don't care about Dean Wade.
Pass.
Awesome. All right. Next up, we have the Hawks side of things. And for Atlanta, Trae Young is out. And we got the news that Kristaps Porzingis is out, which means we know what it means. Okongwu is going to start now. The matchup is still pretty tough going up against the Cavs for all of the Hawks, but these guys have shown matchup doesn't really matter as much for them, which is weird to say, but true. Brandon, how are you treating these guys?
Really, it's only two main focal points for me here. I considered a third, but of course, the first is Jalen Johnson. I know some of y'all might kind of be put off by him because he kind of put up a dud last game. They got smoked by the Wizards, which I still can't believe, but I don't think he's going to play as bad as he did last time. And then I love him even more with Porzingis out. It just opens up more usage, more chances for him to get more rebounds. So I am currently at 38%, so over the field. I was getting a bit more, but my last run, he fell quite a bit. And then Okongwu, of course. I wasn't really getting any of him, but I just noticed we got the updated ownership at 24%. So just threw a 25% min on him. We've seen time after time when Porzingis misses, he usually smashes. So, like you said, tougher matchup for this team, but Okongwu, I still like him enough to play him. And then the third guy I considered was Nall, just because of he has high usage too, and still a decent price, plays a ton of minutes, but I like other guards a bit more tonight, so didn't pull the trigger there.
Yeah, I was close to you too. Like guys like Nah and Vit, or like they stood out for me just because of some of the strong performances they've had before in the past. But taking this slate into consideration, I do think there are stronger plays. So I don't really feel like I'm getting leverage on guys like Nah or Vit Krejci. But I do have a 5% min on Vit and a 6% min on Nah. Just having some exposure to them, just knowing how explosive they can be. On a 6-gamer, I was okay just kind of being closer to matching the field on them. I also just like Vit a bit more when they have less guys. Really, no matter what happens, the Hawks have a pretty tight rotation. So he's someone I can see having a slightly elevated role here at not too pricey of a tag. And he's small forward eligible, which always makes these guys a little bit more interesting to me. I'm with you on Johnson. He should show up for you without doing anything in the domination station. He's showing up in 49% of my lineups right now. But I know as we get news and as things change, I just want to make sure he's showing up in at least 20% of my lineups. Earlier, his ownership was a little bit higher at 22, so I put that 22% min. Okongwu, I have a 30% minimum on him. He's only showing up in about 27% of my lines. That's okay. Ideally, as news continues to develop, he'll continue to move up. He's not as cheap as he once was, which is why he's not jumping straight up to core play value for me, but he's someone I still want to make sure I have exposure to, even given a difficult matchup. So, yeah, I think we like the Hawks, just not as much as other spots on this slate. All right. Next up, we have the Sixers going up against the Nets. Lowest total on the slate. Spread at 7 points. There aren't really any crazy spreads on this slate, but this is the widest spread, lowest total. Typically a spot I don't want too much exposure to, but pricing and injuries kind of keep things in play. We have, for Philadelphia, Paul George listed as questionable. Joel Embiid is out. BJ Edgecombe out. Watford out. Kelly O out. Only things that really move the needles here for me are BJ Edgecombe being ruled out, Joel Embiid out. PG, if he gets ruled out, that would be a boost to a guy like Barlow because he should start. But really, I think that just solidifies the usage rate and role for like Maxey and Grimes, who are guys I like enough already on this slate. Tyrese Maxey, he's showing up in about 40% of my lineups without doing anything. I don't have a min on him, primarily because I'm a little indifferent on him. We don't have a lot of pay up options on this slate, so the spot doesn't pop too much, but he has a pretty solid floor, pretty solid ceiling for this slate. I'm okay with him being my pay up option, but he's not like standing out for me too much or anything like that. Andre Drummond I have a 10% min on. I almost didn't put this min here. He's not my favorite center on the slate, but he's going unowned, and I don't think he should. This matchup's not something that worries me too much. He did have a bad game last time out, like all these guys did, but I think that's why he's not getting ownership. So I forced him in on him because I feel like he should have ownership on this slate. Grimes, I put a 20% min on. I'll feel a lot better about Grimes if PG is out. He hasn't shown a lot of upside recently. Really, this month has been a bit of a struggle for him. Nets is a solid bounce back spot, so I just wanted to make sure I had some exposure to him there. And then Justin Edwards is god awful, but I do have a 10% min on him. Primarily, I do think he'll be a much better play if PG is out, but he's been in good form recently, which is also still weird to say, but I wanted exposure to him here too. So I'm taking some shots. What's your strat here?
Yeah, I love Maxey in this spot. I have a 30% min on him just to make sure I don't go under that. He's kind of eased up a bit on how he's been performing, but just knowing his upside and how he's been playing overall in this kind of spot, he can definitely break the slate. Followed you on Grimes. Hasn't been the best, but as long as he continues to see the minutes, he does. And price in this lower 6K range. And whenever he's in a good spot, I'm just going to always attack him when they're still missing all these guys. And then I didn't get quite as high on Edwards, but I did force a 6% man on him. I'm trying to get, especially the value that nobody's really playing. Most of the chalk would be on the other side of this ball when it comes to value. So just trying to attack other value plays to get in the mix. Mainly the ones who are seeing a lot of playing time and somewhat decent upside for his price. So not somebody I'm really confident in, but the potential is there at 4,400. So we'll have some exposure there. And then get the Drummond call, but like you said earlier, this slate has a lot of great bigs on it, and just didn't pull the trigger on Drummond. I like some other spots a bit more there.
Yeah, I totally understand that one. All right, next up, we have the Nets. Man, yeah, when you look at these ownership numbers, that's when you're like, wow, what in the hell is going on? And it's because Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas are out. They do everything for this team, which means other guys now have to step up. Brandon, what are you doing with the Nets here, man?
Yeah, this is one of my least favorite teams to play DFS wise, but with MPJ out now as well, like that's so much usage up in the air for this team. So I'm unfortunately going to be playing quite a bit of these guys.
And they're all cheap too. That's the crazy thing.
That's why it's hard not to. And we say all the time we love attacking this Philly team too, because they're not that great defensively and usually play with a faster pace too. So hopefully these guys are cheap enough to do something here. But the obvious two, Clowney and Martin. Clowney I'm probably the most comfortable with. He's been playing close to 40 minutes, and he's actually been pretty aggressive offensively, getting a lot of shot attempts up. Last few games, he's been getting between 30 to 40 fantasy points. At 5,100, it might seem a little bit high, but for his recent performance, I'm somewhat comfortable going there. Tyrese Martin, he is up and down. but he's super cheap. You can play him at point guard and shooting guard, so he just makes a lot of sense with the time he's going to see in. When he does get at least 25 plus minutes, he has shown decent upside for his price as well. The other guys I just forced them in on due to their price is Claxton, matched the field 15%, Demon 15% man, Powell 15% man, even for some man in just due to the minutes, 8% man, and then 10% man on Sharp. So like I said, I'm pretty much playing everybody here.
Yeah. I'm in a very similar boat. Yeah, it's Clowney season, man. The only thing that worried about me of Clowney was potential foul trouble. But we've seen him in foul trouble, and his floor in that situation with all these injuries is really around 30 fantasy points, which is exactly what we have him projected for. So I had an 80% exposure max on him, just trying to limit some of my risk here. But I'm going to take that off and just put a 99% there and allow however much of him to show up as possible, which will probably end up being in that 60 to 80% range, but we'll look at that on the next run. I have a 20% min on Claxton. He's someone I want to make sure I have exposure to. He, like you said, is just going to be more aggressive here. He has been already this season. Price tag makes sense here, and matchup doesn't concern me too much. Terrence Mann, I have a 10% min on. Just adding him into the mix of value. I do think this is a solid spot for him because he's also been moving in the right direction from a performance standpoint, but hard to trust these guys too much. They all have some fail outcomes if their shot isn't falling because most of these guys are pretty streaky. Igor, I have a 17% min on. He's the one who I'm expecting the Nets to really try and get involved a bit more offensively with these guys out, but we just have to wait and see. He's still a rookie, so don't really know how that's going to play out. We've seen already with other talented rookies who have shown they have talent that doesn't always mean you'll get the minutes you deserve. So 17% min there. Zaire Williams, I have a 10% min on. He's the guy I would try and move forward with from an offensive standpoint, but he's been rough this year, so hard to trust him too much. So just a 10% min. Day'Ron Sharp, I have a 5% min on, just trying to keep him in the mix. Really more of like a foul trouble kind of scenario with Clowney or Claxton, but at 3,700, even if he still sees his regular run, he still has some upside. And then Drake Powell, I put a 15% min on. Wouldn't shock me if he starts or just sees a bit more minutes. Either way, he should see 20 plus, which is at this price tag, someone I want to have exposure to on this slate. And then I put a cap on Tyrese Martin at 60%. His minutes just aren't the most consistent. He is a solid points per minute guy, and I like the matchup. More likely than not, he will end up being in like the Nuts lineup. He's super chalk though, and so whenever there's a really chalky player, my first thought is, hey, is there a way I can fade or limit my risk to someone? And Martin ended up being the guy that I was going to lower exposure to. We'll still be over the field if he goes off. Like, we're not complete fading. It's just also have 40% of my lineups alive if he sucks the way he usually does. So we'll see what happens there. And that's pretty much it for the Nets. I'm just double checking, making sure no one else snuck in. Yep. All right. Next up, we have the Bulls going up against the Hornets. Honestly, I don't think we can really talk about Chicago too much yet in regards to what we're actually doing, because for me, they're not showing up right now, but that will change depending on, okay. Literally, as soon as we start talking about them, the news starts coming in. So I was like, no, let's just wait a second. It looks like Vucevic is available to play. He was questionable, so that makes things pretty clear what's happening there. Kobe White's available to play. We're really still waiting on Kevin Huerter and Patrick Williams. Those injuries matter, but it was really Vucevic that carried the most weight for me. So we still have Patrick Williams listed as questionable. If he gets ruled out, that'll be a boost to guys like Buzelis and maybe Phillips, but he's not someone I'm really trying to get to. That was probably more of a if Vucevic was ruled out kind of thing. Yeah, Kobe White's available to play. So for me,
Huerter is too.
Who?
Huerter.
Okay, so Herter's available. So it's really just Patrick Williams we're waiting on at this point, and that's a little bit less exciting. I would consider taking a shot on Buzelis if he
Yeah.
gets out, but that's probably it. For me, I have a 15% min on Kobe White. I want a little bit of leverage over the field here. I like picking on the Hornets. I do every time. This is the game with the highest total on the slate, so I'm always going to try and find the spot to get leverage on in these type of games. And Kobe White was the best way for me to do that. His minutes floor is pretty solid. He's another player who's really starting to move in the right direction with more solid performances. So that's why I landed on Kobe White. Josh Giddey, I honestly, nothing pointed towards him being a great play for me today. I just wanted exposure. I do think our ownership's a little high on him. I think he'll be below 10% ownership. So I put a 5% min there just to have some exposure to him, but nothing stood out. What are you doing here? Are you taking a shot?
Yeah, I was hoping some of those guys were out just because, it's the highest game total on the slate. So I wish I liked this team more than I actually do. But I am taking shots on Kobe White and Giddey as well. I have a 10% min on both. Like you said, Kobe has put up solid performances. 4 out of his last 5 games he's played, he's put up at least 40 fantasy points. And we know his ceiling is higher. We've seen him score higher than that in the past. His minutes have been pretty consistent too now, coming back from that injury. So definitely want some shots there in this game environment. And then Giddey has been in pretty bad form lately compared to how he was starting out the year. But anybody with a triple-double upside and the highest game total on the slate, I'm just going to play him and not think about it. So, like I said, 10% min there. Only other one I was really considering was IO, but I don't like him as much with all the other guys in now. So not against it if he was like a last man in and you were trying to find somebody around his price range, but just didn't pull the trigger. I think we have some stronger plays elsewhere.
Yeah, I want to like these Bulls, but it's really hard to get there right now. Humble said, if we are doing single entry, should we focus on building lineups of 1 to 2 games and fading the others? That's not what I would recommend. But Brandon, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, not really. I mean, depending on who my favorite players are, especially in the higher game totals, like I might just naturally have more focus on certain games, but I don't like purposely try to pick 1 or 2 games and fade the others. I pretty much just play who I like.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to, is just trying to find the players who are in the best positions. It's less game centric. There's also just like less team specific correlation usually for multiple players. So that's why you're usually focusing on more than just 1 to 2 games. But sometimes it can work out, especially if there's a lot of value like we have with the Nets and other teams. The King Raheem, I think you're a Bears fan, man. So congrats on that W. If you are, if not, then sorry, I totally got that wrong. Uncle Cheese, I see you, man. We'll get to your question towards the end. Other side of this game, we have the Hornets. For Charlotte, they are relatively healthy. Let me just double check that, make sure we're not missing anything too big. Yeah, they're pretty healthy at this point, which makes them a little bit less interesting because we have teams that are very not healthy right now. But again, I'm looking for reasons to play these guys. So the 2 guys that stood out to me to take a shot on were LaMelo, who I keep saying it, 8,900. As long as he's below like 9K, eventually he'll get back into form. Eventually he'll play more than 30 plus minutes. Right now we have him projected for 33 minutes. And so if that's true, I do think he can end up having a ceiling performance tonight. We just have to see what actually happens because he is still recovering from an injury. And then Brandon Miller was the other player I was willing to take a shot on. He looked really good in his last game back. I'm going to lower this to 10 just because his ownership keeps moving around. 10 feels a little bit more stable for me. And then I meant to say 3. Ryan Kalkbrenner, I have a 10% min on as well. Just another value center option on this slate. Slight pivot off of some of the more chalky center options we'll get to in some of the next few games here. Not anyone really stands out as like a fantastic play here. Again, it's just I want exposure to this game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really, really thought hard about LaMelo, but I'm just waiting. Even if we have him projected 33 minutes, I'm just waiting to actually see him play over 30 minutes. With some of the other guards in the 9K range, I just didn't get there. I want to so bad, especially in this type of environment, but I'm attacking pretty much the other main guys here. So I have a 10% min on Miller as well. Like you said, he's been pretty solid since coming back. He's been getting slightly above 30 fantasy points last couple games. So, of course, we want to see him a bit closer to 40. I think this is definitely the spot he can do it again, especially if they decide to bump him up some more too. I have a 10% min on Kalkbrenner. He hasn't been in the best form either, but again, I'm trying to force in some value that the field's really not on. And Chicago also bleeds a lot of points to bigs as well. I would have loved him even more if Vooch was out, but still going to take the shot just because sub 10%. I think he can definitely surprise quite a few people.
We're really on the same page today. It's been a little bit since we've both been like seeing things the exact same way. So it's funny when that happens again. Were you gonna say something else?
Yeah, there was a couple of people that I forced into that you weren't on.
Okay, let's see.
Con Knipple, he put up a dud last time, but outside of last game, even with the LaMelo back, Bridges back, Miller back, like he's still been putting up solid scores. 6,900. He's shown he has 40 to 50 point upside in this environment, like I continue to say, and somebody who shoots the ball the way he does. I'm playing him. And then Miles Bridges, since I didn't take a shot on LaMelo, I figured I'd take a shot on him because behind LaMelo, Bridges has the highest upside. Not somebody else who's really in too good of a form, but usually if the game total is projected this high, I'm going to take shots on multiple guys. So don't feel too confident there, but I do have a 5% min on him.
Yeah. I can't do Bridges. I can't.
I get it. I get it. It's
but
great.
I like the Con Knipple call because you're right. I think I had my bias going. I was a little burned last time out. I took the same shot. But, in this environment I'm willing to like these guys because they're just going almost unowned. Not a Bears fan? Okay, good. If I'm playing one, should I force one guy from this game since it's the highest total on the slate? Some slates, I would say yes to this question. It just kind of depends. For this slate, I don't think you have to force one guy.
Yeah.
Do you?
No, you don't have to at all. I mean, of course we are, but I don't think it's a must.
Yeah. And I haven't made my single entry lineup yet, so I don't know if I would, but this is just like for our 150s or 20 maxes, stuff like that. Craig, what's up, man? Hope all is well. Hope football was good yesterday. Football was great yesterday. We just hit on a lot of stuff. But of course, there are things that didn't go our way as well. So hopefully y'all had a good Thanksgiving, both with DFS and just in real life too. How's Diabot? Sometimes we've seen Diabot and Kalkbrenner get there in the same game. We have. That's true. And they're both pretty cheap here. Brandon, what are your thoughts on Diabot?
Yeah, I really don't consider him unless Kalkbrenner's out. So especially with some of the other center plays we have, I don't want to force both of those guys in. I just have a stronger lean towards Kalkbrenner, so I didn't really get to Diabate.
Yeah, the minutes floor has been there more of Kalkbrenner. For a while, I was saying that Kalkbrenner was definitely better. But now there's more, questions that we have to wait and see. These guys are young. We'll see. But he's not making my DFS lines. Dang. Yeah, I agree, Nezzy. Glad NBA is back. Next up, we have the Magic going up against the Pistons for the Magic. This is not a team I typically like to pick on, the Pistons. But Paolo and Mo Wagner, are both out for the Magic. Brandon, what are you doing here with these guys?
Yeah, there's only one guy for me here, and that's Jalen Suggs. I put a 20% min on him. He just continues to perform well. Last game, he was on his way to put up a slate breaking performance, had him as a core play, and then he got it ejected. I didn't agree with that call, but
Oh, it's tough.
it is what it is. But yeah, like you said, it's not my favorite spot to pick on, which is why Suggs is the only one I'm really going for. Again,
Yeah.
I will never talk anybody out of playing Franz and Bane, but y'all know the story when it comes to them with me. So not playing either of those guys just sucks for me here.
Yeah. I'm with you. I like Jalen Suggs. In my earlier runs, he was showing up by himself. But this is honestly why I have as many mins as I usually do, because these guys just fall as we get more news. So I'll also have a 20% min on Suggs. If you want to take a shot on someone else from this game, I do think it's a Franz Wagner night. But just given the context of the slate in its whole, in totality, he didn't stand out for me. So I am just prioritizing Suggs and moving on. The Pistons are a little bit better for me, at least. For Detroit, they are relatively healthy. Jaden Ivey's questionable, but his minutes, he's not playing too many minutes right now. So that news won't change too much for me. Guys like LeVert and Green, it would solidify their minutes floor more, but I don't think it will be extremely DFS relevant. No, whichever way that news goes. What's your approach here?
Pretty much is just K for me. I put a 10% min on him. He's looking a little better since coming back from his injury. Like I said with Giddey, he's similar. K's been in better form lately than Giddey, but he can have his down times too. But again, if somebody has triple double upside, especially at 11% ownership, I'm just going to force him in. So that's pretty much it for me. I did consider Duran, but he's kind of cooled down and hasn't really been playing well enough to pay this price tag off. So I like other centers like Sar and Okongwu a bit more tonight.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I like both of those centers a bit more too. Duran is almost just like the Drummond play for me. They're just players who I feel like should have ownership and they don't. And so therefore I will be the one who will take the risk for guys who just aren't in the best spots, but still have upside. So I have a 15% min on Duran for that reason. I'm with you. I do like Cade a bit more here just because we don't have a lot of great pay up options. And he's someone that has a bit more of a safe and high floor than some of the others. So I just wanted to make sure I had exposure to him, but nothing crazy, just a 15% min, and I'm not playing anyone else from this game. And I don't think anyone else shows up. Yep, just Caden Duran. No one else. 2 more games left. We have this game right here. This Washington and Pacers game is really where you'll start building your lines and you'll start seeing things come together a bit more.
Yep.
For Washington, I wish we had the George news because I think that will impact a lot of my strategy with Washington tonight. Keyshawn George, is it Keyshawn or Keyshawn? Do you know?
Pretty sure it's Keyshawn.
Keyshawn, he's questionable right now with an illness. If he's out, CJ McCollum is someone I'm going to be over the field on. At least 20-30% is my game plan there for now. Bilal Coulibaly, I already have a 5% min on him, but his usage rate increases with George out. And in this soft matchup against the Pacers, really more, they just played a decent pace. It's someone I want to have exposure to, so I have a 5% min there, but he's someone who I will make more of a priority. I have a 50% min on Sar right now, technically a leverage play. Really, I just view him as more of a core play. He's someone that I had a 60% min on, but when we got other plays like Okongwu and other center options, I just deprioritized him a smidge and put the 50% min on him there. Outside of that, again, this is just a game I'm targeting a lot. Second highest total, nice spread, good matchup. It's not often Washington finds themselves in competitive games, and maybe after their last one where they surprise everyone, they can keep it going. I have a 5% min on Middleton. He's someone else I'll like a lot more if George gets ruled out. 3% min on Bub Carrington at 3,500. Just another value guard I like having in the mix. 10% min on Justin Champagnie. If he gets hot, he's someone that you'll want in your lineups tonight. So, again, the only guy I like and feel really good about right now is Sar. But depending on the news, I'll really like CJ as well. And George, if he plays, he's someone I will have enforced exposure to, but just around field weight exposure, close to like 12%. What are your thoughts? What are you doing with Washington?
Yeah, pretty similar strategy for me here. I love Sar. He's one of my favorite players on a slate. This matchup is amazing for him. It's going to be fast paced. I say it all the time. Pacers are one of my favorite front courts to pick on. He should do whatever he wants here. So I did bump his projection up just a bit to make him a core play, and I'm currently at 62%. So I'll be well over the field there. And one of my favorite single entry players to get to tonight. Everyone else, I'm not as confident in, of course, but like we keep saying, second highest game total is going to be a great game environment. So I want a little bit of everybody else who sees decent minutes. So I have a 10% min on Keyshawn George. Of course, I'll take that off if he gets ruled out. 5% min on Middleton. He looked great last game when they kind of shocked the world and beat Atlanta the way they did. He even had 10 assists in the first half, which was crazy to see. Like, everybody was just making everything. I don't think he plays as good as he did last time, but he's still pretty cheap to where if he does have another spike game, I at least want some exposure. So 5% min there. CJ, kind of in the same boat. He's a little more consistent than Middleton, of course, but he broke the slate and surprised a lot of people and showed he still has some gas left in the tank. And like you said, if George is out, then I'll love him even more and bump up higher than 10%. Champagnie, another value play that the field's not really on. Not the sexiest play, but 3,400, he could definitely get there. So 10% min there. Koulibaly, he's more so just the amount of minutes he's playing. Another volatile player, but again, it's a good environment. So 5% min there. And then I even went Bub Carrington, who's probably my least favorite play on this team. But again, price and game environment, 3% min there. So nothing too crazy, just some sprinkles on everybody outside of Sar.
All right. Tough question, at least for me. There's two guys that I didn't do anything to CJ yet. But Marvin Bagley and Cam Whitmore. Marvin Bagley, I'm okay not having exposure to. I'm not really planning on getting there. Cam Whitmore, we capped last time out, and that went pretty well. But with Kisper out, is this a spot like maybe a 3% min could make sense? Or what are you doing?
If George gets rolled out, I will play Whitmore because I think his minutes will be a little more safer than what they are now. Like, that's the only reason why I didn't force Whitmore in. He's just been seeing pretty close to 15 minutes now, and he just hasn't been that great the last few games. So that's pretty much what will need to happen for me to get to Whitmore. I think Bagley is a pretty easy fade tonight.
Yeah, so I'll put Cam Whitmore in like CJ McCollum territory for me. I'll get there if George gets ruled out. And I did put the 10% min on George just so I didn't forget about him. That was a good thing to do. Just good practice, like you mentioned. All right. Next up, we have the Pacers. And you will have a shit ton of Pacers tonight. That's just the way it is. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. Like you said, Atlanta, they struggled against the Wizards last time out, but basically no one else has. So I'm not going to assume this is a team to avoid at this point. Andrew Nembhard is out for this team. He's someone who has been very involved recently. He plays a ton of minutes. That news really shifted the slate. All of these guys were already looking a little too cheap in this really soft matchup, but Nembhard getting ruled out really just solidified the spot. All of these guys for the Pacers are players I want exposure to tonight to some varying level of degree. My least favorite, but someone I still force exposure to, is Pascal Siakam. I do think our ownership's a little high on Siakam. I think my 25% min's a little bit closer to field weight exposure. We'll say what is right, but 25% felt right to me. Benedict Mathurin, he leads this team in usage more often than not these days. I have a 25% min on him, and I think that will be me being over the field slightly here. He's just someone I want to make a priority in this game. Jarris Walker was showing up by himself. Now he's only showing up in 8% of my lines. I like Walker enough where I'm willing to put a 20% min on him at 4,300 playing 30 minutes. Okay usage and point per minute, but it's really the minutes and matchup that we're targeting here, not really how good of a player he is. Talked about Mathurin. Jay Huff, I have a 55% min on. I think I'm going to lower it to 50. I think that's enough for me to be over the field at this point. He's 3,800, seeing decent minutes, good points per minute guy. You can play bigs against this Washington team. Just a good spot. He's one that does make me a little nervous just because it's Jay Huff. Like, you can't. Hopefully you get it. You can't play Jay Huff with so much confidence, but he has been in better form recently. It's just he hasn't shown too much ceiling, which is what I care more about. But the floor has been pretty consistent. And then TJ McConnell is showing up in 82% of my lineups. Brandon, I know we'll get to this, but you decided to lock him. I do like him enough where I'm willing to lock him as well. So I'll follow that just to kind of get more of the lineups I want. And then that is it for me right now. What are you doing with these Pacers?
Yeah, I won't say too much about McConnell, even with Nembhard, and he was a great play. He's been in better form, seeing a lot of minutes. 4K is just way too cheap. So with Nembhard out and the way he's been playing, especially at his ownership, when people get to around 80% and higher, you either just fade them or lock them. So I locked them and moved on.
And actually, Brandon, I don't want to interrupt you, but my ownerships are off, actually. So I'll be making some short adjustments, and I'll touch on some of the changes I made once you finish up what you're doing.
All right. Siakam and Mathurin were popping kind of crazy for me. They were kind of showing us core plays. I do like both of them in this spot, but with getting so much of them, they were kind of affecting some other guys that I like quite a bit. So between both of them, they're bouncing around, but I'll be between 30 and 40%. I think that's still a decent amount to have. If they do pop off, I won't be completely out of the water there. Jarris Walker, I agree with you. Not somebody you can be 100% confident in, but he's had some solid games lately and even more of a better play with Nembhard out, more usage. So I have a 30% min there, and I'm actually getting 39%. And then I love Jay Huff too. He's been the better big on his team, outplaying Isaiah Jackson. He's been getting more run. One thing I love about him that you didn't mention is you can play him at power forward too. So we kept mentioning how many great centers are on this slate. It's amazing. You can play him at power forward. So definitely love him. I have 34% there. Kind of want more, so I might bump him up just a bit more to get somewhere between 40 to 50%. I consider Isaiah Jackson as well, but like I said, Huff has just been looking way better, and trying to be selective with where I'm going for center only guys. So didn't get there, and no one else is showing for me.
Boom. So I did ownership projections updating do always shift things for me. So I have a 35% min on Siakam, so I had to boost that up a bit to be over the field. Bennett Mathurin, I have a 30% min on just matching field weight. Walker, same story. I like both of these guys, but not enough to like force more of. Isaiah Jackson, I have a 12% min on. And like you, originally I didn't have a min, but just given the slate, he's in the same price range as a lot of these guys who are just cheap centers. And so I'm comfortable just adding him into the mix there. Lock on TJ and then a 50% min on Huff. And you know me, I like to trust my gut. I originally had 55. Hell, keep the 55. I do like him enough for that at that price tag and price range. Okay. And that's it for me. I couldn't go any lower. Rotation's been pretty tight here, so hopefully they keep it that way. All right, last game on the slate with the Bucks going up against the Knicks. Did we get the Giannis news? Do you know?
Yeah, I think he is available. Yeah, he is.
Okay. And George is also available to play from Washington. So that's a bit of a buzzkill. There are just some shots I want to take there. But are you playing any of these Bucks?
Nope. And Giannis being in just made it that much easier. I did consider Giannis, but I don't think this is the spot to attack him, at least for me. So this was a pretty easy team to fade for me. Everybody else is still priced up as if Giannis was out. So pass for me here.
I am praying and crossing everything I have, hoping Giannis's ownership is actually around 9%. Earlier it was 12. I knew that was going to go down because it didn't make any sense, but I hope there's 10% of the field out there who just love Giannis and are willing to pay $11,500 because that's insane. That makes zero sense. He's been out for a week and a half, 2 weeks, coming off an injury, and then he has the matchup from hell going up against the Knicks. If he was 9K, maybe, but I can't at that price tag, and I can't play any of those guys, so it's going to be a hard pass. Next up, we have the Knicks, who do have a little bit of a softer matchup going up against the Bucks, but they've been solid defensively this season. For New York, they are healthy at this point besides OG, who's been out for a little bit. I am taking shots on this team, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on what you're doing here.
I am too. So pretty much just the three main guys for me. I love Josh Hart tonight. It's an amazing matchup for pretty much everybody on this team, but Josh Hart has just been smashing lately. I love his price. He's somebody who does a little bit of everything here, so I have a 20% min there. I like Brunson quite a bit. If you kind of look back at his game logs previously against his team, he typically smashes the Bucks. They bleed a lot of points to guards too, so I like him quite a bit. 20% min there, and then Cat. I don't feel as strong in, but we know what kind of upside he has. Another high usage guy, a good points per minute guy. So 15% min there. And then I am still on the fence about Deuce McBride for the reasons I said before. I'm just trying to attack value plays that nobody else is really on. He's a very streaky player. He relies a lot on his shot, but in this kind of matchup against the Bucks, who aren't that great defensively, I might throw a 5% min on them, and I think the Sim model kind of agree with that too. I think that's what kind of is making me lean towards playing them. So don't feel as confident there, but I think he has potential in this spot.
This is giving me Tyrod Taylor vibes from earlier today all over again, where I was very comfortable not playing Tyrod, and then I'm talked into it. You're right. Simano does like Miles McBride. This is going to be my test. If Miles McBride burns me tonight, then I'm playing Tyrod. Or no, maybe it's the opposite way. I don't know. But I will not take the shot on McBride, even though I do think it's a solid call. He even projects decently well, too, so I don't think it's that crazy. But I did put a 5% min on someone different than you, Mikal Bridges. his shot just looks awful right now. He's doing jack shit all while he's out there, but kind of like LaMelo, but very different because it's so rare we see it. Eventually, the shot will get together and he will have a game, and it's usually in some of these just gross matchups on paper where no one else was thinking about playing him. So 5% min on Bridges, and I didn't completely fade Hart last time out, but I'm just going to match the field or close to it, 20% min on him, call it a day. We know the upside he has, even though I do feel like he's still a little expensive, but without OG, he's just so involved. It makes sense. So that's this slate in a nutshell. It's an interesting one. Like, there's a lot of ways you can get different. There's some like obvious games to attack, but I don't know. I like it.
I do too.
We have some questions. Let's see. Deep Ball said, does Giannis putting up 61 fantasy points in New York last time they played matter at all? Not to me, because he wasn't coming off an injury where he was out for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Do you feel differently?
Yeah, I agree. And even if, let's say he does put up 61, I don't think that's going to be enough on a slate like this at his price. Because you got a bunch of other guys that's cheaper than him that can put up the same amount.
Have a good one, Craig. Let's see. James said best at each position. Do you want to give it your shot, or do you want me to go? Oh, Brandon, did I freeze? Did you freeze? Is it just
pricing, I guess?
Wait, you were frozen, or was I frozen for a little bit there?
You kind of blacked out for a second. I don't know if it was me or not. But shooting guard, it's tough between Mathurin and Martin. I guess it just depends on what you need for salary.
Yep.
Small forward, I guess Jarris Walker now with that Nimbar news.
Yep.
Power forward, Clowney for the cheaper play. And then it's pretty close to a tie between Jalen Johnson and Siakam for me for the pay up. And then center for me is Sarr.
Yeah. I'm with you. The only place that I was a little bit different is Jay Huff at power forward. Is close to Siakam, so that would be kind of like my pay up, pay down option. So that's pretty much the situation there. And then, yeah, glad George is in. Don't have to consider Whitmore anymore. That's nice. Garrison Matthews worth a punch or a punt with the Pacers so thin. Did you think about Matthews at all, or any extra thoughts there?
No. I can't go that low.
Yeah, I'm with you. DJ said, any feedback on the late slate or normal FanDuel, as we say? We can take a quick look at it.
Yeah, I will say if you are a member, I will have night slate core as well.
You know, it's 50-50 on if I will join you for that or not. Not the core plays, but I mean like literally playing the night slate.
Yeah.
Golly, there's so many more games on FanDuel. Yeah, we cannot walk through all of these games. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have absolutely no idea what's going on there. So we're going to have to pass on that. But Brandon will have night core plays for you, man.
Yeah. And also, I haven't looked into them yet, but just on paper, definitely that Spurs and Nuggets game and the Kings and Utah game looks pretty good.
Yeah, and we do have coaches here at DFS Army that focus on FanDuel. They have sheets, they have cores. If you want access to that, click the link in the description. Use promo code BDUB for a 10% discount, or BF2025 for a 25% discount. You know, whichever one you prefer. They both work. I really want to go with some Charlotte guys. B-Dub kind of got me thinking about Khan. How do you all feel about Charlotte? Yeah, he got me on Khan too. But, I mean, I like this game. The hardest thing is just balancing good game environments versus pricing and guys who are priced well, who should exceed value. And that's really what the debate is. That's why you're not seeing a lot of ownership from Charlotte because even though they have a nice matchup, there's just other guys who project to exceed value at a higher rate than these Charlotte guys. What do you
Pricing
think?
is everything. Yeah, I agree. I'm still playing pretty much everybody for the starters outside of LaMelo, which I'm still on the fence about that. I might in over 5, but yeah, I'll go over my men's again. 10% men on Miller and Kalkbrenner, 6% on Khan, and 5% on Bridges. So I wish I liked this team more, but like you said, pricing is everything, and everybody's kind of up there. So can't go too heavy here and feel confident about it.
True. Do you like Hart on FanDuel?
Let me see his price. If he is around the same price, then for sure. Oh yeah, he's the exact same price, and he's not showing much ownership either. So I definitely don't mind that play.
Yep. I would say on FanDuel, Hart's my probably favorite Nick. I would have exposure to Brunson, but probably less, around like 5. And then Cat, instead of having like 20%, I would have like a 10% min on him. That's how I would treat that team. All right, that's everything, y'all. It's gonna be an interesting one. We're gonna get hit real hard and fast right at 7:30. I don't think I'll be able to watch every single game, but I'll try and have at least 4 to 5 of them up and rotate the interesting ones. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back on Monday. Next Thursday, I have like a work event, so I won't be able to do a show. I also won't be on Tactics next Friday, but we'll be back next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I wish you all nothing but the best tonight. Look forward to celebrating with you all on the Discord. And, peace, love, happiness. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.